Hey, what's going on, my friends, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you another weekly energy update for the week of February 21st through the 27th. As you see here, my friends, as you might already be feeling in your body and experiencing in your life, it's a very potent energy. It's a very strong, activating energy that spells a lot of really fantastic and hopeful potential for you, your sense of self, and your life. Number one, I wrote down inspired activation. For quite a length of time, your spiritual awakening, your ascension process, it can seem as if the primary focus is shadow work. It can seem like life is constantly, relentlessly triggering your shadow aspects for clearing and healing and more clearing and more healing and awareness of things you don't want to look at, but you know you should. And it can seem like that's the name of the game for a very long time. And you can't help but wonder, is this all there is? Is my entire life going to be clearing for myself, healing for my ancestors, clearing away old childhood stuff? And the answer is no. That's only half of the equation. The other half is what we're heading into right now, this new energy, the new energy of the year. It's already been kind of present, but this week in particular, it's going to definitely become more noticeable, and that's the energy of activation, inspired activation. What I mean by that, it's like as you clear space within your consciousness, you leave room for more of your true self to come through, to be present in your body, in your mind, in your life, in your beliefs, in your goals, in your aspirations. And frankly, what a lot of you might find yourself experiencing this week is a lot of inspiration. This happened to me just the other night. I couldn't even sleep. I had my notebook next to me, and every 30 seconds, I'd have what I call an inspired idea, an idea that just resonates and excites me and I know is going to be helpful and relevant to my life, so much so that I write it down. So I have this little thing I wear, the Whoop, and it gives off kind of a little, you can't see, but a little green light. So I'd be there in my bed and I'd take my Whoop off and I'd sort of not want to wake Patty up, and I'd write something down. Patty's my wife, I'd write this thing down, and then I'd think, okay, I'm good. And I'd lay back down. And I'd have to do it again. I went for 2.5 hours doing that last night. I couldn't sleep. The feeling of activation, it's activating as you might expect when you're feeling inspired, creatively inspired. It's like there's a lot of energy, and you might not be able to sleep. You might not be able to focus on anything else, but that's the energy right now. And there's another way, an opposing way, this exact same frequency and theme can manifest in a person's life. In fact, some of you are probably feeling this now, thinking, Victor, you're completely wrong. I'm not having any of this. In fact, I'm having the opposite. This same energy of activation, if you're resisting your path, if you're clinging to something you know you should not be clinging to, something you know no longer resonates, no longer applies, no longer is needed. You know it, but you're afraid and you're clinging anyway. If that's you, this same energy is going to manifest in a lot of reflections of that dissonance, of that resistance. And it's okay. We all do this. It just happens sometimes. It happened to me. What came to mind as I was writing these notes earlier today is when I knew it was time to close down my gym business. I used to be a personal trainer, and more so, that was my identity. I was like the fitness guy, Victor the fitness guy. And I put my whole life into becoming a great trainer and owning a gym. And there came a time where I knew in my heart it was time to shift gears, but I was afraid. I didn't know where this shift would take me. It was very scary. So I hung on to the gym, even though I knew it wasn't going to work. I knew it wasn't resonating, and things were just breaking down. But anyway, I went through a period similar to this where I just sort of had this sense, I know it's time to let go and to move on. I know if I do, it's going to work out beautifully, but I wasn't. And that same energy, instead of manifesting as inspiration, creative downloads. It was manifesting in reflections of my clinging to what I knew no longer served. So as an example of this, it can play out many ways, but it can oftentimes play out very physically in reality in your life. And there were multiple times I came into the gym during this period, and the whole gym was flooded. There is this drain on the floor, and somehow, I don't know what it was, but it would back up and all this water would come up from the floor and fill my gym. And I had all these really expensive mats. I had AstroTurf, I had all this stuff. So to deal with that was a nightmare. And the mats were heavy. And we had to take them outside, air them out. We had to mop up. And it was just this pain in the ass experience that seemed to be like, we didn't deserve this. We're trying to help people with the gym and it keeps flooding. And it wasn't just the fact that happened, because of course things happen in life sometimes. It was that it kept happening. And most importantly, when it happened, it would almost I would just intuitively know what it represented. I knew it represented, Victor, this doesn't belong to you, bro. This is not for you anymore. Stop lying to yourself. And if you keep lying to yourself, you're going to keep getting reflections just like that. So if that's you, my friend, then the solution is simple but not easy. It's you must let go. You must let go. And I know it's hard to let go because the mind wants to know what's next. The mind wants to feel safe. That's okay. It's its job. That's why you feel fear. Maybe just at the idea of letting go of something you know does not serve you anymore. And the truth is, when you let go of whatever that is, usually the replacement isn't immediate. And part of you knows that, so that's even more scary. But what does come usually very quickly is an idea. It's a night like I had, where you're lying awake and all of a sudden, these brilliant ideas you never thought of just start streaming through your mind. And they just so happen to be the exact solution to your problem or to what's next for you. But you won't get that, period. You will not get that until you tap in to the courage you possess and let go. And I say this with sympathy. I know it sounds so easy. It's not. Another funny thing before I move on, during this time, I knew all this. I knew I should let go of the gym. I knew it was going to keep flooding. Problems were going to keep occurring until I let go. But I didn't anyway, because I just couldn't come to terms with going into the unknown to that degree. Letting go of my financial income. When I had a family, it seemed ludicrous, even though I knew intuitively I should. And it got to a point where I was clinging so long, I started having these dreams. These dreams where one of the dreams was a spirit guide. This doesn't happen to me. You might think I have all these spiritual connections, but I don't. But anyway, this dream, it did come through. A spirit guide came through, and they just sort of appeared before me. And I remember it very vividly. I even asked them their name. I said, "What's your name?" Because I was so intrigued. Even in the dream, I recognized that this is sort of unique. So, "What's your name?" They said, "Island." Thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, Island basically said, "You got to let go of the gym. You just got to do it, bro. You know you're going to be fine. What are you doing? Why are you holding on? Don't you know it's time for you to step into this new level of yourself, this new frequency, this new expression of your life? Don't you know what's ahead is awesome? You don't even like the gym. It's driving you crazy. It's stressing you out. It's not making you any money anymore. It's just a big pain in the ass. Why don't you let it go and trust us?" "Oh, I don't know, Island." Eventually, I let go. Eventually, life will just push you onto your path regardless. But if you don't want to be shoved onto your path the way I was, I didn't take any of this advice. That's why I'm preaching a little bit, because I didn't do this. And I experienced a lot of resistance, a lot of experiences of unpleasantness due to my clinging, and the result was the same. And if anything, the result was the same, but I felt kind of backed up. I had to kind of play catch up to get up to speed to where I was meant to be. So if this relates to you, my friend, you know what to do. I think I've made my point clear. Now the ball's in your court. Number 2, growing up and outgrowing. It's kind of both happening at once. What I mean by outgrowing is for the longest time, you may have felt, and especially as you start to go through a spiritual awakening, you really see this, you may have felt like you're just a mere conditioned product of your environment growing up, of your parents, of all those conditioned influences. There comes a time where you become aware of them. You become aware of just how deeply rooted they are. And it's stressful because you witness yourself acting them out, knowing this is not me. Why am I reacting this way? I don't like how mom and dad reacted, and yet I'm just like them, and it drives me crazy. But there's coming a point right now where you finally feel like you're transcending all of it, like you're becoming finally autonomous, like you're your own person, not so heavily weighed down and influenced by mom and dad. And as you do this, it's like you're growing, you're maturing. Finally, like we're finally maturing to adulthood, and this could be any age. There's a lot of childish adults out there in the world, and I was one of them, honestly, until not that long ago. It's not a judgment, it's just sort of the truth. We don't have a lot of the things that earlier people had to transition appropriately to more of a mature state of being. We are just sort of raced through life, weighed down by limiting beliefs, without getting on a whole rant here. You kind of know the deal, you know the situation, but a lot of us end up in adulthood with a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lack of belief in ourselves, a lack of empowerment, and we feel kind of trapped. But regardless, that may have been the case, and you may have been waking up to that for a while, wondering when are you going to be able to finally step out of it, because being aware of it is one thing. Actually being able to transcend it and feel like you're finally separate from it is another thing, and that's what I'm trying to allude to right now. It's an opportunity to finally step out of the storm of the conditioning that may have sort of run your life up until this point, regardless of what your age is. And one of the ways it's playing out for me is I notice I'm finally becoming more of a man, more of like a grounded, stable father and husband. My dad, he lost his father when he was only 10 years old, and he had a bunch of sisters, so he really wasn't taught how to be a man. He was forced into Vietnam. He fought in Vietnam in some of the most gruesome battles, and he survived that. But anyway, he went through life, he experienced a lot of trauma, and there was no one there to guide him. So consequently, as you can probably expect, the way he parented me was evident that was the case. He didn't really know what to do with me once I became a rebellious adolescent, angst-ridden 10-year-old. And he sort of just kind of shut down. And I felt like I went through life not really being taught how to be a man. I wasn't taught how to shave. I wasn't taught how to do a lot of the things a lot of kids were. So I went into life feeling very anxious, feeling exactly like my dad. And even though I had a spiritual awakening and all these different things happened, I still kind of felt that way at the core, deep down. And as the last couple of years, it became more and more noticeable. My lack of, almost like I was becoming aware of just how far I have to go. Even though I've done so much work, so much shadow work and stuff, I still felt like a little anxious child on the inside up until recently. As of the last year, I've been attracting different sources, different mentor figures that pop into my life that were the person I never had, but now I was finally learning from, just authors, books, YouTubers, things like that. And I've been just going through my own initiation and finally coming to this point where I'm realizing I'm different. I'm acting different. I'm reacting, responding very different. I'm finally able to be more consistent in the human being I know I could be. It's starting to feel more natural. The old self is being perceived as like, that was never me to begin with. And this is just me sharing a metaphor for what you could be experiencing in yourself right now. However, it is dependent on you letting go. You won't have all these cool blessings when you're hanging on to something you know is not yours. regardless of the circumstance, regardless of how much your mind tells you you need it. You got to go with your intuition here. You got to let your higher self and your inspiration take the reins here and guide you not only to a more favorable life circumstance, but to a higher level of just spiritual and emotional and human maturity. The world needs stability. The world needs presence, calm people who aren't freaking out, who aren't completely locked into the 3D matrix, people who can just sort of be there at the grocery store, in the car dealership, wherever you go, and your energy, it's like if you imagine, it's kind of a vague thing. It's like if you look out at like a still lake, right? And you throw a stone, and you see that stone like ripple. That's kind of what you guys do. Best metaphor I could come up with, but that's kind of the effect you have, a calming ripple throughout the collective. And that's what a lot of us are starting to realize. Oh, wow, that's me. It's not just someone I look up to, it's actually me. All that shadow work finally is paying off. And by the way, some of you might not relate with what I just said. Some of you might feel like the exact opposite is happening. You might be frustrated thinking, I've done so much inner work and I'm still a freaking basket case, maybe worse than ever. What I found is that prior to this sort of metamorphosis I'm describing here, my issues were more present, more at the surface. They would take me over more often to greater degrees than ever before. And it was kind of like a dark night of the soul type of thing where I felt like a complete prisoner in my conditioning right before kind of like finally emerging out of it. So if that's you, my friend, if your issues are more intense than you're used to, that's kind of like the beginning of the end. Number 3, just 3 simple but powerful letters, GSD. You're gonna have to pardon my French here. It stands for get shit done. This is something that a mentor long ago would say to his students. Now is the time to simply do the best you can with what you have. It's a time to do what Tony Robbins likes to suggest, which I love this idea. He says, you don't need resources. What you need to do is be resourceful. You need to have a determination. Reminds me of my daughter when she was like, 7 years old. She was hell-bent on learning how to rollerblade. And at this time, we were living in an RV park in San Diego, and I would go with her, and she said, Dad, I want to learn to rollerblade. I want you just to kind of take me out. So I did, and I'd walk beside her, and she fell, like sort of badly, like really like wicked falls, one after the other, every 5 seconds. She'd get no more than 2 or 3 feet before feet overhead, and she'd be all banged up and scraped up. But she just like, without even thinking twice, without even entertaining the thought of failure for one instant, she just got up and went forth, and boom, boom, boom. After maybe 30 falls or something, she got a little bit better. And the next day, we did it again. And the next day, we did it again. After a few days, she was going for like stretches of 5 or 10 feet without falling. And before you know it, now she's an amazing rollerblader. She doesn't even like to do it, but she's really good. She could play hockey if she wanted to. That's kind of what I'm talking about. She didn't wait for the perfect sunny day. Oh, the ground is too hard, Dad. I don't know, maybe I should do it on a softer surface. I need to eat lunch first before. No, you can't let your mind bullshit you out of doing the challenging thing that's before you. It's a time to be sloppy. It's a time to just go for it. It reminds me of when I opened up. I talked about closing my gym, but when I had that gym, it was an inspired idea. This is kind of like a whole other cycle of my life. And when it began with an idea. You should open a gym. Where? How? I don't know how to open a gym. Figure it out, Victor. I didn't wait for more clarity. I figured it out. I bought like an online course that sort of taught me how to like open and run a gym. I just started looking around online for different places to lease. And I found one, and then I had this empty gym. And then I said, okay, well, I got to fill it with equipment. So I invested in some equipment, and then I put it together. And I finally, after a few months, had a gym. But nobody came. It's like, oh my God, higher self, you told me to start this gym. It was going to all work out. I put all my last bit of last little teeny bit of money into this gym. I poured my heart and soul into it. It was inspired. I've taken action and now I have it. Why isn't anybody coming? It's not fair. Figure it out. So I made postcards. I had like a handful of clients from people that I knew over the years. This awesome woman named Elise, she owned a real estate company. And she was like, Victor, I'll help you make some postcards. That's what we do. I said, okay. So I had these beautiful postcards made at cost. It was a good deal, still a few $100. We sent them out to like 1,500 people in the local area. One person came in. Only one person came in with that thing in her hand. And she never even signed up. So I was like, man, now I'm starting to get frustrated, Spirit. I've taken action. I made the postcards. I'm doing my best here. No, nothing, no results. Figure it out, Vic. So I finally tried something else. I looked up online and hired this guy named Johnny Hopkinsons to run Facebook advertisements in my local area. And I paid him like $1,500, and it was like no money. I shouldn't have done that. Put it on a credit card. I had nothing else no other options. And sure enough, he got me a bunch of leads. He got me 300 applications of people saying, I know of your gym. I'm interested in signing up. Here are my goals. Here's my age, my weight, my phone number, all this stuff. And I said, thank God. Finally it worked out. It all makes sense. Well, guess what? I didn't know what to do with these people. I would call them, I'd text them, I'd email them, no one responded. Some people came in and I didn't know what to do to sign them up. So even though I gave away my last freaking penny to Johnny Hopkinson and he delivered, he got me all these leads, I said, what's it gonna take, Spirit? This is BS. I'm getting frustrated. I'm GSDing over here, but I don't have one paying client extra. And it was January. January is the time to fill up a gym. Most of you know that. And it was getting towards the end of January. I had 0 people signing up. I went through all this stuff. I was pissed. And I called up Johnny. I said, Johnny, I told him my situation. He said, bro, you got to get him on the phone. You got to get him in, and you got to close him. I said, what are you talking about? Close him? What does that mean? You got to take him through a sales process. Oh, I don't like sales. I had all these blocks about sales. He said, you got to do it, bro. I said, okay, I did it. So I bought this other course called Close Clients from this guy named Bedros, and I learned the sales presentation, how to do a sales presentation, and then finally, half the people that came in to meet with me signed up. Within 2 weeks, I had a full gym. I had so many clients that I had to hire a trainer. And that was a pain, because then I had to work with the trainers, and I had issues there. But the point is, I didn't stop. I didn't give up, and I figured it out. And that's the kind of mentality. I'd be like my daughter Maya. You just got to get up again. You got to try again. Maybe you got to try 1,000 times. So what? 1,000 the first time, it's going to finally work. The cosmos does not reward laziness. It doesn't reward people who are not standing in their power. Your higher self will give you the seeds. And they'll plant them in saying, this is your potential. But you chose to come to the earth school here and figure it out. Tap into your power. Maybe, looking back, maybe it could have all happened effortlessly. Victor, start a gym. Victor, your dead uncle that you never knew about will send you money to furnish the gym. And then you'll meet one person and they're going to say, I know 1,000 people that'll come sign up. And then they're there. And then the right trainer comes to help you. Maybe it unfolded that way. That's what I wanted. That would have been nice. But you know what? I would have had 0 growth. You wouldn't be watching me today had everything been so easy and flowy and synchronistic for me. The only reason people like you guys watch me is because I've had to figure it out for years and years and years. And in doing so, it created a certain amount of growth within me that resonates with you, that can inspire you. So you don't want to deprive yourself of that growth, my friends. That growth, the trial and error, the challenges, those are your prayers being answered. And every single one of them has a purpose, and that purpose is the same. It's to uncover more and more and more of your power, of your potential, and just of your authentic soul self. And I know some of you might feel tired. Like, bro, I get it. but I'm exhausted. These activations, they're tiring. They tire out your body quite a bit. And GSDing all the time, it reminds me of a college student, someone who's in college full time, but also has a full-time job. That sucks. That's a lot of freaking work. That's a lot just to be a college student and then have some kind of crappy job you don't care about for 30, 40 hours a week. That's rough. That kid's probably exhausted. The kid's probably depending on caffeine and whatnot to like get him through the day. Yeah, he's probably not all zenned out all the time. He's probably unhealthy, but you know what? At the end of 4 or 8 years, however many years he's in college, he has a degree. He has an opportunity to live a life that he wants or she wants. And that's kind of the idea right now. You're gonna get tired building up your new life and following the guidance of your inner spirit as best you can. The mistakes, the challenges, those are tiring too because they stress you the heck out. The unknown, being in the unknown for so long, that's stressful too. There's a lot of fatigue temporarily associated with this whole process. What I tell people, because people always reach out to me saying, Victor, but I'm tired. I say, so what? Be tired. You'll sleep when you need to sleep. But there's an opportunity to really seize the day right now, my friends, but it's something only you can decide to do. Okay, my friends, before you go, I know this video is kind of going on long. I'm gonna give you the tip of the week. It'll help you big time. You probably have no idea what that says. I'll read it to you. It says, align before you act. If any of this relates to you, this big transition a lot of you might be going through, you might realize that there are a lot of nerves. I talk about my past so casually, but the reality is if you were to have like approached me or come in contact with me during that time, I was quite riddled with like nerves and anxiety, primarily from being in the unknown so much and just being in the middle of this leap of faith, not knowing where I'm gonna land, not knowing if I'm gonna land cleanly, not even knowing where the hell I'm heading. It's a lot of anxiety. And that anxiety, the point of me telling you this, it can make it very difficult to get anything done. I'm telling you to GSD and you're like, bro, I can't even get out of bed. I'm a mess. I'm so nervous. I'm so just pent up with doubt and self-doubt and stuff like that. So that's why I say align before you act. I found it crucial to do things every day to put me in the flow, to put me in touch with the part of myself that knows it's all gravy. It's all gonna work out. The part of me that has access to the inspiration. I had to align myself and then act. And it wasn't long before my actions eventually, I'd relapse and get back into my anxiety that I'd have to come back and do it again. This is not a time to kind of wing it. This is a time where even though your nerves might be more at the surface than normal, so too is your ability to choose to tap into that deeper, wiser, trusting, confident, powerful part of yourself that is the key for you truly reaching new heights in your life, in your spiritual growth, in your day-to-day degree of happiness and inner peace. You must align before you act. Word of the wise. And also, just so you know, my friends, our Sedona retreat in June is over half full. It's all the way in June. It's kind of far away, 3-4 months, but it's been filling up very, very quickly. So if this is something that you've been meaning to do or you want to do, you're interested in, I'm going to leave a link somewhere here and also down below where you can sign up if this calls to you. If not, you can't make it, that's cool. Just want to kind of keep you in the loop and let you know that spots are filling up very quickly. And with that said, I'll see you all next week. Have an amazing week, my friends. I wish you well. Much love. Peace.